Now, we've mentioned going to court, and we will go through the civil procedure, and as we say in our guide to the civil process in Turkey, at the end of it, you win your case, and then it's very, very likely, 95% likely, that the loser will appeal, and that will add more time.
I would rather to have just this as a problem, but I think we have a bigger problem in here, because when you start a litigation case, if the other party doesn't have any asset to recover,
yes.
So you will be just battling for years for nothing.
If they have no insurance, basically.
Yeah, no insurance. Insurance is very likely to face, because imagine a car accident, you are getting the insurance straight away. But if you have a different type of accident, it is very unlikely that you will have an insurance a policy of the other party.
Yes.
So basically, even you win the case, you may never recover your a claim back. So what we usually do is to be able to recover the funds, when you first lodge the case, you should be asking for an interim seizure over the assets, if there is any. Even sometimes the judge may ask you to pay some security for that, like a 15% or 20% of the claim to put the seizure on, but you should, because otherwise you may end up with no assets.
Well, I think it's a lesson every lawyer has to learn, I think, that there is no point in pursuing court cases against people who have no money.
Yeah. Exactly.
And clients sometimes want to do it, but it's a very, very expensive and very frustrating thing to do.
Yeah.
Yes. But you've raised the issue of security. So in Turkey, as part of the civil process, if you have a claim against somebody, which could be, say, for 1 million Turkish lira, and that person has assets, you can apply to the court to have those assets seized or a charge put upon them to protect your claim.
We call it like an interim injunction. Yes, you can, in almost all files, you can ask for an interim injunction. However, or interim seizure, let's say, you have to have a strong case.
Yes.
I mean, if you have a case which has no legal grounds, the judge may decide not to seize the asset of the other party.
But if you have a case with no legal grounds, you shouldn't be bringing it anyway.
But sometimes it
but
happens.
people do, exactly right. So
it's
not unreasonable to say that before you can seize someone's assets, you have to have a reasonable basis.
This is why the courts are requiring a security, because if you will be losing the case at the end, then you will be compensating other party for the losses.
Yes. Okay, so as with every country then, one of the key things about dealing with an accident, one is, does the person have insurance? Two, if they haven't got insurance, have they got any money?
Yeah.
And three, how do I protect that, myself against that money whilst I still can, before they spend it all on foreign holidays and Ferraris and things like that?
Yeah.
Moving forward, so that's the court case, and let's assume at the end of that court case you're awarded 1 million Turkish lira in compensation. You then have to collect that money, and you use the enforcement proceedings to do that. And again, we have a separate video about that. Is that then the end of it? You then try and lead your life and forget about the accident, or will you still be receiving compensation payments from the state because of the fact you can't work and so on?
No, if you are not working anymore, basically you are going to be retired early, and you will get your
state pension. So in some countries, the person who was responsible for the accident would be expected to pay for all of that cost that the state was incurring, because the courts would say, look, you're retiring at 45, not at 65. The state is going to have to pay you for 20 years. Why should the state have to do that? It should be the person who caused the accident.
Yeah, it depends on if the person who is caused the accident has basically, if he caused and if he has a failure, yes, obviously, that's going to be recovered by the state.
And so the state will recover it from him.
Yeah.
Yes. So the state gets the money back in a slightly different way.
In a different way.